What's going on, everybody? It's our Wednesday workshop, and it is an active day over here at NuView. I can actively hear Jason DeBono in the background. I'm going to have to tell him to quiet down during our workshops. But anyways, we are back with some great education, and I will tell you, we've got a phenomenal speaker on with us today who educates about a specific niche in the real estate investor world. You're going to want to stay tuned for everything that he has to present for us today. I will just start off real quick and talk about NuView Trust Company for anyone who is on our program, maybe for the first time, and who we are, what we do, and why we have these workshops. My name is Nate Hare. I am the Director of Sales at NuView Trust Company. And what NuView Trust Company is, for anybody that's investing in real estate, notes secured by real estate, even Bitcoin these days, is you want to understand what a self-directed IRA is. We are a provider of self-directed retirement accounts. What does that mean to you as an investor? It allows you to buy and sell investments and completely eliminate, or at a bare minimum, defer capital gains tax. Yes, that dreaded word, capital gains tax. You have it when you buy and sell real estate as an individual. You have it when you make no interest investment or profit as an individual. There are all sorts of ways that the government wants to take money out of our pockets for taxation. The way to eliminate taxation is to set up a retirement account that by law doesn't have to pay taxes. So we provide people the opportunity to use an old IRA, an old 401k, or just set up a new retirement account from day one and buy alternative investments like real estate instead of stocks. We've been in the business since 2003. We're one of the veterans in the industry. We have about 15,000 active investor clients currently, and those clients are spread out across the country, even though we are based right here in just north of Orlando, Florida. So if you are interested in taking your retirement account and investing things into rental property or investing it into manufactured housing, which we're going to be talking about today, you need to have an account with a company like NuView Trust Company that will allow you to do that with your retirement account. We currently have about $2 billion under management as far as alternative assets go. I'll talk a little bit about what those assets are and what I see some of our clients invest in. And then we'll transition it over to Glenn Stromberg, who's going to talk about his specific preference of investing and investments. And the reason we have these webinars is because our clients have complete control over the decisions they make when it comes to their retirement assets. We don't sell investments. We allow our investments to invest in whatever they want. So these webinars are geared to help just give you a little bit more information about different alternative investment types so that you, as the IRA owner, can make the proper and best decision for your retirement account. And let's just jump right into the next slide and talk about what a self-directed IRA is. A self-directed IRA is not a type of IRA. What we have here in NuView is no different than an IRA you would have at Fidelity. The only difference is we don't sell investments to our clients. When you're a licensed securities broker like Fidelity, you're only going to allow people with retirement accounts to hold the things that you sell, which are typically stocks, bonds, mutual funds, CDs. Those are called traditional investments. If you're familiar with those types of investments, great, more power to you, keep investing that way. But if your knowledge base is in real estate, or if your knowledge base is in lending, or if your knowledge base is in crypto or oil and gas, you might be better served having an IRA that allows you to invest in those types of assets. And when you have an IRA with NuView Trust Company, since we aren't licensed to sell you anything, our account agreement says invest in whatever the IRS allows, but you find the investment. We'll hold it in an IRA that we set up for you. We'll have small transaction fees for processing the paperwork, but we're not going to make commissions on your investment, and we're definitely not going to tell you what you should invest in. So it's not a type of IRA. Self-direct is just a marketing term. And I will tell you, most of our clients have IRAs at NuView, but they also have IRAs at Fidelity because it allows them to invest in both traditional and alternative investments. So what are the types of plans that you can have here at NuView Trust Company that you can use to invest in real estate or cryptocurrency or notes or manufactured housing? What are the types of accounts that you can invest in those assets and also eliminate or defer your capital gains tax? We have personal plans, which would include your traditional IRAs and Roth IRAs. Some people will call it a self-directed Roth, but at the end of the day, it's just a Roth IRA. So we have personal plans that you can self-direct here at NuView. If you're self-employed, we have employer plans like a simple IRA, a SEP IRA, or even a solo 401k. And these are for typically small business owners. These plans allow you to make larger contributions to them compared to the personal plans, but they can all be invested in the same things. So you can have a Roth IRA as a tax-paying and income-earning individual, but if you're self-employed, you can also set up a solo 401k, for example. That gives you more buckets to put money in, thus giving you greater buying power when you're looking for new investments, and also giving you greater tax benefits by setting up multiple types of retirement accounts. And we even have non-IRAs that can be self-directed, but also give you tax shelter, and that would be your health savings accounts and Coverdell education savings accounts. And these two accounts are great if you want to put some money away, but the investment profit is completely tax-free to be used to pay for health expenses for you and your family and or education expenses for your kids or grandkids. So we have 7 types of accounts that can all be invested together or separately, but all of those accounts are considered tax-exempt trusts that the IRS can't touch, provided you're just buying and selling things within those accounts. Very different than us investing as tax-paying individuals. So why would you want one? Better diversification, gives you additional tax savings, but these plans allow you to invest in what you know best. What are the types of investments you can put in there? The IRS actually doesn't tell us what we are allowed to invest in with those accounts. They only tell us what we are not allowed to invest in. The only 2 things you cannot hold in an IRA are life insurance contracts and collectibles. Those are the only 2 investments that are restricted per IRS code. So anything else outside of that you can hold title to or drop a purchase agreement to buy can be held and owned within your retirement account. You just have to find a custodian that's willing to hold and administrate those assets on your behalf until retirement or until you start taking distributions. These are some of the most common investments we see at NuView. We see a lot of our clients buy real estate. That could be land, it can be fee simple real estate, it could be manufactured housing, it could be condominiums, apartments, it could be multifamily, it could be tax liens, it could be mineral rights, it can be a property they find through foreclosure. Why do they buy it in their IRA? Again, no capital gains tax. We have a lot of clients that choose to be more passive in their investment choosing, and that could be things through promissory note investing. Do you want to use your IRA like a bank? Maybe you know somebody that's buying real estate and you'd rather just lend them money secured by the real estate and have your IRA earn interest income tax-free versus going out and dealing with toilets and tenants on your own. Or you can invest through private entities. This would be LLCs that maybe are pooling money together to buy apartment buildings or a joint venture or partnerships or even trusts. This is an important opportunity too for any real estate investors looking for private capital. If you're looking for more money to raise to fund some of your own personal real estate investments, start looking to retirement accounts because there's about $35 trillion in retirement accounts. So private entities, when I mention that, you can invest into other people's entities, or if you're the one managing and sponsoring the entity, you can go out and look for private money through people's retirement accounts instead of their bank accounts. And nowadays, the big thing everyone's talking about is, again, cryptocurrency that can also be held in an IRA at NuView Trust Company, but can't be held in an IRA at Fidelity. So these are just some of the investment options. And I'm real excited to bring on Glenn Stromberg because we're going to talk about one that I would say not a lot of people understand, but more people should, because it's one of those niche areas that there could be a lot of opportunity if you understand the industry, if you understand the investment, how to acquire it, what to do with it once you have it. And that's Glenn Stromberg. He's going to talk about manufactured housing. Glenn, if you want to pop on with me, I'm going to tell a little story about how I met Glenn because we were laughing about this prior to the show. There's not a lot of people that you meet sometimes. You just remember where and when you met them. And I remember exactly where I was and what I was doing when I met Glenn Stromberg, and I was going on an IRA cruise for all things. Yes, they have these events that you can go on a cruise ship and network with IRA investors. And Glenn was right behind me in line, and we just started talking and chit-chatting and realized we were there for the same reason. And that's when I first ran into Glenn Stromberg. And I think from that point on, I just had my radar out for Glenn and his education, because it's just something different that you don't get to hear all the time. And I love self-educating myself, but also hearing from some tremendous educators and investors. And one of them would be Glenn Stromberg when it comes to manufactured housing. Glenn, are you with me?
First of all, thank you very much. And it's an honor and privilege to be here. And, you know, my goal today is I'm hoping that I can help somebody in some way. That's what I always like to do when I do these presentations. And once again, I want to thank everybody who's taken the time to listen to me today. And I've got about an hour presentation that I'm going to try to knock down to 45 minutes. So I leave plenty of time for questions. Some of the slides I'll go through quick. And like I said, what we can do is we'll leave time for questions. And then if there's other questions that we can't get to, I'm going to give you all my contact information, and feel free to call or email me. I'll be happy to help and answer the questions any way that I can. But here, this is my company, our mission statement. You know, our company, we want to bring glory to God in everything that we do. This is per my attorney. I'm not here to sell or to solicit anything here. What I'm here is to educate today. I'm going to kind of go through some things that I've learned in my career, and plus some stuff in our model that I think can apply to other areas of real estate too. So, but this is for educational purposes only. What I'm going to do here too is I'm going to talk about specifically my niche. Okay, I am in mobile manufactured homes. Okay, and just to start with the definition, the terms are synonymous. Whether you call it mobile, manufactured, it all means the same thing. They just kind of, back in the day, they called it trailers, then it went to mobile homes, now it's manufactured homes. And I put on here the best kept secret in real estate investing. And the reason I put it up there is because I honestly believe it. The reason is that most people don't understand mobile homes. They don't understand manufactured homes. They don't understand how well they're built. And so there's very few people in our space, and which we don't mind, because we do very, very well. So, you know, a little bit about me and our company. You know, the golden rule, my motto is love God, love people, be humble. That's what I try to live by. I do the best I can to do that. Our company motto is to do unto others the golden rule, as you would have them do to you, right? And so our goal is, we have a company meeting tomorrow, and I'll stress it again, like I've done for 15, 16 years since we've had this business model, is to exceed expectations with investors and exceed expectations with tenants. We know that if we do that, we never have to worry about us, and we're good to go. So, boy, I can't believe I've been in real estate investing for 39 years. That means I'm old. There's no other way to say it. But I'm going to touch on a few of these things. Once again, this is educational. We're obviously going to talk about mobile homes, creative financing, joint ventures, turnkey real estate, which our company does. I'm going to talk about that. You know, the question, do you need money to invest in real estate? The answer is absolutely not. If you can source the deals, you don't need it. Networking, finding a coach, a mentor, active versus passive real estate. A lot of people on this call, there's probably some that are active in real estate, and others that just want to be passive. Which one is right depends on you. They're both really good. So we're going to talk about compound interest, rates of return, how to get where you want to go. My 2008 story, which, you know, I don't know how many of y'all were in the business in 2008, but there was a major crash in 2008. And talk a little bit about property management. And then, of course, I'm going to leave time for questions in the end. Okay. So, you know, and this is I always put this slide up because who would invest in mobile homes? I used to get asked that question a lot. Well, guess what? Warren Buffett does, right? He bought Clayton Homes, which I had a Clayton Homes franchise for 15 years, and he bought Clayton Homes. And why did he do it? Because it's affordable housing space, which we'll talk about more. He's made comment after comment. If he could, he'd buy every single family home he could if he could property manage it. And I personally believe that in this climate right now, that affordable housing is the very best space to be in real estate. And I believe that with my whole heart. So once again, not a little bit about me, like I say, been in the manufactured housing industry for 35 years, actually 39 now. I've owned mobile home parks. I've developed mobile home subdivisions where we developed the land, put the homes on there. At one time, I had a partner and we owned 13 mobile home retail sales centers. My current business model has been in place since 2006. And like I said, I had a Clayton Homes franchise for 15 years. And that's my claim to fame. I always say that I was partners with Warren Buffett. I never met the man, but the paperwork said I was partners with him. So that's pretty cool. This is where I always want to start with mobile manufactured homes. Okay. Personal property, when a home is built in the factory, it has a title on it, just like a car. That is a personal property mobile home. You can keep it. If you put it on a piece of land, you don't want to tie your land up, you can keep it as personal property. Or it's a simple title company function. You can convert it to real property. All that is like I say, the title company does, it's real simple. And then it's got a deed of trust or a mortgage depending on the state. And it's real estate. It's the same classification as a single family brick house, same thing. Both can be lucrative. I'm going to talk a little bit about both of them today, and they both can be lucrative. So here's why I don't have much competition. When I speak in public, I'll normally show this picture and say, how many people here think this is what a mobile home looks like? And 80% of the hands go up. I want to be real clear. This is not what we buy. Okay. We are buying homes that look like this. Typically, our prototypical house is 1,500 to 2,000 square feet. It's on a half an acre to an acre tract of land. When I say there's virtually every amenity that you can think of in a manufactured home as a single family home, there is. I mean, we a lot of them are tape and textured. Anything that you can get in a single family home, you can get in a manufactured home. It would blow your mind some of the higher end manufactured homes now that go for $300,000-$400,000. And once again, there's a lot of them you would never know you're in a manufactured home. So just like I say, just showing some pictures of them. Especially during COVID, what happened was we've always had tremendous demand for our product, but during COVID, people wanted more space. You can get a lot more square footage for the dollar with manufactured homes, plus more land, not being in apartment complexes. Some people were worried about that and so forth. So, once again, big yards. We've got some properties that are probably up to 2 acres too. Anywhere from a quarter acre to 2 acres, and a half to an acre is primarily what we buy. Okay, so and here's what I always like to tell people. Back in the day, and when I say the day, back in the 60s and 70s, mobile homes were built like crap. There's no other way to say it. There were no HUD standards to it before 1976. There was nothing there. Around in the 80s, they started picking up their game. In 1990 and above, they really started using the same materials that a single family home does. We put our homes on an FHA compliant concrete foundation. Now, why do we do that? Because if an individual is going to buy the home, they get the same FHA financing as you would get on a single family home. Once again, I already talked about the land. It's all 2x4s, 2x6s, plywood or OSB flooring, same as any home builder that you get from, window packages, all the stuff. I always tell the story. My dad was a mason contractor up in Chicago, was in construction. I worked for him 7 summers. And he came out to look at about 15 of my properties. And when he got done, he goes, I can't believe this. These are built better than a lot of the tract houses in Chicago. And that was good to hear, but I knew that before he said it. So why do I say it's the best kept secret in real estate investing? It's typically half the cost or less. In some areas, it's a third of the cost of a single family home. Typically, it can be double the cash flow in many cases for a lot less money. That's why we love them. Much lower maintenance costs. You don't have the foundation and the plumbing issues. In the Dallas-Fort Worth area here, the plumbing or the foundations, we're in the foundation settling capital in the United States, I guess. And I hear horror stories of 20, 30, 40, $50,000 foundations. If we ever have to re-level one of our homes, we just take the skirting off and we re-level it in about $1,000, $1,500 and we're set. So same thing, you don't gotta go into concrete to get to the plumbing, all the other stuff. So it is lower maintenance costs, quality construction. My company has bought over 550 properties in the last 7 years. We use all private lenders, no banks whatsoever. We have roughly 150 investors now deploying about $1 million of capital a month. And roughly half of our investors use IRA funds. And what we try to do is we tell our investors, you are 100% passive. All you got to do is wire the money to the title company and look at your statement every month. We do the rest, and I'll get into more details here. But we're currently buying 8 to 10 properties in Texas, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. And like I said, every home is it's real property secured by a deed of trust or a mortgage. We get a title commitment from the title company, or we don't close on it. So same protection as a single family home. So now I'm going to get in. This is a kind of a good lesson, because I don't know what you all think, but I think something's coming. I think we have had a bull run here, and I think there's and I want to be clear, I've been wrong for 3 years. I thought it was going to happen 3 years ago. But it just seems like there's too much stuff going on. And a lot of people forgot about 2007, 2008 when the crash happened. So I'm going to tell you my story. I was buying the same homes I'm buying today. I was fixing and flipping mobile homes, best it's ever been. I was flipping 2 to 4 a month, making $20,000 to $40,000 per deal out of my house with no overhead. And I had roughly 18 properties in the fix and flip process when it happened. Okay, I always joke here. This is where I told my cat, "You got to have no more wet cat food. We got to go to dry now." So of course, I'm just kidding. But the crash of 2008 happened, and I don't know how many people on this call experienced it, but I can tell you this: in a lot of areas of the country, both coasts, properties went down like 50%. But the main thing that happened was the capital markets totally froze. I mean, you couldn't give away a home, right? And so I was fixing and flipping. And I always say this: I wasn't smart enough to come up with my business model by myself. I was forced to, right? I had 18 properties. I couldn't give it away because no one was financing back then. So I had to learn the rental game. I had to learn. I went and interviewed all kinds of property managers. I took the best of what they did. We came up with a great program that worked. And it's funny how things work. It turned out to be a blessing in disguise, because now we on the first of the month, our month is made, and we've got a good system and good process in place. And so, but I was forced into our model, and that's how it happened. But here's what I've learned. Here's what I learned in 2008 with COVID. Okay, COVID, of course, didn't last that long. It was a short period of time, but it was very similar to where things froze for a couple of months. But what I learned was this: affordable homes are always in demand. And when I say this, you can listen to any of the forecasters out there and the people in the housing and the gurus and so forth. There is a massive shortage of affordable home housing in America. That just a massive shortage. And so, no matter how bad things get, obviously people are going to eat first, have a roof over their head second, and we have the most affordable roof with the most land. And what turns out all the time in 2008, it didn't with COVID. Our model works great in good economic times, but even better during bad economic times, right? In COVID, the demand for our houses, which was already fantastic, went 3x. Why? We got calls. I'm in an apartment complex. I don't want to be around people, whatever. People are downsizing, right? So, and the beauty of the cool thing for what we've done is our collections have been 97% throughout COVID, and they always are. And why? Because people realize there's no cheaper place to go. There's no place where they can get that kind of square footage and that kind of land. And so people pay us. They pay us. So I think they're more liquid and perform better than most funds and syndications. And that's feedback we get from our investors. We were going to open up a fund, and our investors overwhelmingly told me, don't do it, because we love your model. That's the one-off. So they're a great inflation hedge. And I don't know, and this is where I think the danger is, the government is admitting the CPI index was 6% this year, right? if there's a guy named John Williams Shadow Stats, and what he does is he calculates where the CPI was 10, 15 years ago. He thinks the real inflation rate was 14% last year. And ironically, houses went up about 14% throughout the country, right? And so that's why I love hard assets. I love real estate because it is an inflation hedge. And in my opinion, it's the greatest way to build wealth, because when the appreciation is growing, you don't pay taxes on it. So, okay. Exit strategies, I'm going to touch on this real quick, but obviously you can wholesale if you're doing mobile homes. You can fix and flip them. You can do seller financing. We love to buy and hold. Rental, we like to rent them out because that's how you build wealth. That's what we do, and we do turnkey too. Our investors love turnkeys. We do a combination of both those, where we're building wealth, and we're offering a good program to our investors on the lending side, but we're also offering them an opportunity to own the homes and so forth. So in some states you can do a lease option, rent to own also. Okay. So I'm going to talk about what we offer our investors, and this can be used for any product, right? If you're wanting to do single family houses and you're looking for ways to fund them, this works for those too, right? Option number one, we call it, is buy and hold. The investor is passive. The typical investment with us, 60 to 80,000. 60 is probably light now because prices have gone up. It's more like 80,000 these days. It's more in that area, sometimes a little bit more, a little bit less, but we still get some down in the 60s. The investor's in the lien holder position, just like a bank. So it's secured by the house and the land. The investor, we pay the investor 6% interest it's an interest only note payment monthly. Plus we pay them 2 points. We guarantee they can make no less than 8% ROI. Now, why can we guarantee that? Because we give the investor 35% shared appreciation. They're going to participate in the upside. Plus, we're purchasing the home at a discount, 75% of fair market value or less. True disclosure, we pushed it up to 80% right now because things are going up so fast. And I like to always under promise, over deliver. History has shown that our typical returns, over a long period of time, are 10 to 14%. In the last 10 years, they've been double digits in the high teens and the 20s because of the great appreciation that we've had. So, like a real deal here, $88,000 loan. We're going to pay him $440 a month, 2 points. We can pay the points on the back end or the front end. The baseline for the appreciation on this property was $88,000. The fair market value of the home was $120,000. So that the beginning additional equity to the investor is $11,000. So that's a good start. And once again, that money is growing tax deferred. I'm not going to say tax free, but it's tax deferred because you don't pay taxes on it until you cash it in. So I'm going to throw this out because some of our investors will do this, okay? And you're going to probably ask why, and I'll explain why. We'll give an investor 8% with no shared appreciation, right? Because it'll lower our cash flow, but we know that on the growth side, we're going to make it there. I've had investors do these next three too: 4% interest, 55% shared appreciation. Had a couple of them do 2% interest, 75% shared appreciation. And then one of them wanted to do 0 interest and get all the appreciation. Now, why would they do that? Because a lot of them are rich dentists, rich doctors. They're making $500,000 to $1 million a year. They don't need any more taxable income. So they want more on the back end. If they sell their practices, then when they sell at that time and their income goes down, they can sell the properties those time. So that's the cool thing about real estate. And I just wanted to throw this out because this gives you some flexibility and some things out of the box thinking with investors. So now option number 2 is a turnkey, which same thing. This is where we're selling the home to our investors. The investor is passive. Typical investment 75 to 95. In Texas, they're going to be more. Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, they're going to be in this range. In Texas, it's more like 110, 120 now, but rents have gone up proportionately. Investor gets the tax benefits, the depreciation. Investor gets 100% of the cash flow and profits upon the sale, okay, of the property. We're selling it to them, and we're managing the property for them. Of course, now they own the property, and they're responsible for any repairs. We charge the standard 10% of gross rental income. We don't charge any releasing fees, nothing of that nature. I'll talk more about that here in a little bit. But here's the beauty of our model and why it works so well. When we're buying the home, we are fixing it up like new. And when I say like new, I mean like new. If it needs a new roof, we put it on there. We're always putting new air conditioning, new appliances, new carpet, new paint, new skirting, it's new when we do it. And why do we want to do that? Number one, it pushes deferred maintenance 5 to 7 years down the road. Number two, it makes it very easy to lease to tenants because everything looks new. Okay, so it works out really, really well. All we care about is that when we buy the home, the acquisition cost plus the rehab, the numbers work for us and for the investor. And if they do, we're going to buy the house. So, and honestly, some of the best deals we get are the roughest ones that need the most rehab too. So history has shown that typical returns average 12 to 18%. This is over a long 30-year period of time. The last 10 years, it's been 50% plus. It's been, like I said, we've seen incredible appreciation. And so, but once again, I say at the bottom here, of course, no one can predict the future, but our assumption is that equity and appreciation and rent increases over time will pay for all the repairs. And it always has in my career. So that's the way I'll say it. So here's a real deal that taxes, insurance, monthly taxes, insurance, 10% property management fee. This was a Texas deal a while back. The cash flow was $886 on it for an $85,000 investment. And so, good rate of return out the gate, plus the tax advantages and the appreciation and the equity. So they're good. They're really, really good. And we hear from our investors all the time that the returns are better than what single family homes pay. So that's our model. So what I'm going to talk about real quick here for people on the call that maybe are operators that are looking for a new way to make money. Okay. And I've done this in the past, but our company doesn't do this right now. These are personal property mobile homes. Okay. These are where you're buying them in mobile home parks. You don't own the land, but you own the home, right? So I've just got some examples. How do you find them? Mobile home parks, Craigslist. You put an ad in there. I'm looking for mobile homes. Now, when I had my mobile home dealerships, I used to get people on the older mobile homes coming to my sales center, said, if you'll pick it up, I'll give it to you for nothing. Why would they do that? They're going to build a single family home on there, and they're very expensive to move. They don't want to put the repairs into it. I used to get a lot of homes for free, and I guarantee you those deals are out there right now if someone's got a place to put them. So that's why I wanted to throw this out. This could be an excellent way to make money, right? Like I said, I used to get this call all the time. Come pick up the home from my property. You can have it for free, right? So here was a real live example that I did, and this was back. I'm gonna say it was probably around 2005, 2006. That's when I stopped doing this. But there was when I had my mobile home dealership, there was a mobile home park down the road that I was good friends with the guy, and he gave me a 5-year lease on it. He guaranteed me that I could keep the house there for 5 years. And so it was a 1992 single wide 14 by 70. It was one of the free houses. I picked it up and I placed it at the mobile home park. The delivery and setup to pick it up and set it up there was $3,500. The rehab was $5,215. So my total investment in that house was $8,715. It would have rented for $650. The park rent was $250. So it would have netted me $400 per month. Okay. And I could have used that exit strategy, but here's what I did. Here's what I decided. Oh, that slide's not there. What I decided to do instead was I did a note with the guy. Okay. And I sold it. I sold the property. If I remember right, I sold the property for right at $14,000. I did a note on the property, and my return on investment was it was a 5-year note. So what did it do? I think I got 25% down. I got 25% down that paid for excuse me. I got that money down that paid for a big part of my total investment. The 5-year note over time paid it off. So he had the light at the end of the tunnel. And my return on investment on this deal was 72%. So, which that's not bad. So I just wanted to throw that out for you, that there is money in the personal property mobile homes too. I choose not to do that right now because I think there's bigger money in the homes on the land, and that's where the trend's going to. Plus, you get a better quality tenant. So that's why we do the real property ones versus the personal property now. So okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about professional property management. And first of all, here's the thing that, and I hear this repeatedly from investors, that investors buy a turnkey property and they get creamed because the property management stinks. The operator turns it over to a property management company and they're no good, and there's all kinds of repairs and all that other stuff. Okay, so what I determined when I decided that I wanted to do a turnkey model is I knew that I was never going to turn it over to anybody, that we're going to run the property management side of it, that we're in charge of it because it's my reputation with investors. So we know the markets, we have clear defined policies, we have full-time employees dedicated to managing the properties. And like I say, the property management is the backbone to any buy and hold real estate. Buy and hold real estate, like I said earlier, is, in my opinion, the greatest way to build wealth. But if you don't have the right property management, you are going to, it's not. It can be a horrible investment if you don't have the right management. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we do and the important things that we do and so forth. And, you know, income to debt ratio, we make sure that's in line. If it's a lower credit score, we'll get 2-3 months deposit instead of 1 month's deposit. We're always checking the references. We're putting the odds in our favor, right? The previous landlord, we want to know how the house was left, you know, and how they paid and so forth. We put the odds in our favor. And I've learned this over time. If you get the right tenant, property management is really easy. If you get the wrong one, it's really not. I'd much rather have a house sit for 15 days than put the wrong tenant in there. So setting expectations. This is critical too. We have a 24-page lease, and I'll kind of role play with you guys. This is kind of how we say it. We go, look, there's a 24-page lease here, and here's what it says. You have 2 responsibilities. We have 1. You have to pay on time and take care of our collateral. If you don't, you can't stay. We have to give you a good habitable house. As you see, everything's new here. It's like a new house. And we say it this way: the first, the rent is due. The third is acceptable. The fourth, we don't collect, we evict. And we're doing all this all the time on a Zoom call or a FaceTime call or in person. We'll do it. And we look into their eyes and say, look, if your employer didn't pay you at the end of the month, how would you feel? That's how we feel. So if you don't pay, we will throw you out so fast it'll make your head spin. And we want to make sure they understand that. It's kind of funny because, and we also have a late fee charge, $25 plus $10 a day. But it's funny, sometimes on the 4th, people call up and go, please don't kick us out. We'll have it in the morning. My deal was late from payroll and stuff. But we want to make sure that they understand that we are serious about the rent, and they do, and that they take care of our property. So we require the Skype call, conference call with them. We have a thorough interview process that we've got all written down that we go through with them. We want to make sure we screen the tenant properly. We're tracking move-ins, move-outs. When the lease is coming up, we will call them 90 days in advance and ask them what are their intentions. If they're moving out, we start marketing immediately. So that's why we have virtually no vacancies. We've got 1 moving out, 1 moving in. We're coordinating that at all times. So plus in most of our areas now, we have waiting lists for our properties. So we know our make ready schedule. And what we do too is they know that, like, if they're whatever their deposit is, the minimum is 1 month's rent. A lot of cases we'll get 2 or 3 if we feel, if their credit dictates that. And we tell them that's a savings account for you, but if you don't pay and don't pay on time, if you don't take care of our property, we'll use that for the repairs, which we will. So we want to give you your money back. You just leave the property in the same shape, steam clean the carpet, we're good. And that's how we structure it, to give them incentive to take care of our property and get their money back. So once again, 90 days in advance. We market on 10 different outlets: Zillow, Trulia, of course, MLS, Facebook, all the different ones. And we have a dedicated team that is dedicated to doing it. So Walk-in day or move-in day is paramount. We want to take good pictures. We want them to sign off on everything. We have an inventory condition form. We're taking a videotape of it. So, you know, we let them know that cosmetically you're buying the home as is. You know, we will cover any major things: water leaks, sewage leaks, electrical problems, appliances, air conditioner, but all that stuff is new. So we don't, of course, we don't have any repairs there. So. Oh, and this is important too. We get a deductible, and a lot of people, at first I was kind of surprised when I heard this, and I said, man, you can get a deductible on a lease, and absolutely, okay. We will tell them, yes, you know, we're giving you a big house at a great price, but we want you to take care of the minor things. So if it's $100 or less, you take care of it. Anything over $100, we take care of, which is really just the warranty, the habitability items anyway. So, you know, it's really important to set the expectations like this. We always shop before we renew a lease. We're running comps. Rents have gone up so rapidly here that you've got to do this to keep up with the rents. And of course we have someone that takes maintenance calls, and we coordinate with our contractors and our people. So that's a quick overview of property management. I could talk about that for an hour, but we don't have enough time. But I want to tell this story in case there's somebody out here. People always ask me, well, how did you scale to other states? How did we started here in Texas. I'm in Fort Worth, Texas. And 5 years ago, we couldn't buy a property in Texas. The market was so hot here, even with manufactured homes, we couldn't buy any. So we did what's called the EOS system. It's the book Traction, if anyone's familiar with that. And we got the systems, processes in place. And so we can easily go to any place in the country and property manage and do it. We get acquisition people in the area, and of course, contractors in the area. Our company's motto is, if you're gonna be a landlord, I highly suggest be in landlord-friendly states. That's why we're in red states versus blue states. You know, I'm in a couple of mastermind groups with guys, high-powered groups from all over the country, and I hear horror stories in Illinois, New York, California. You can't get people out of there for a year or two, and it's crazy. So, but we of course we want to check the local economy, the workforce there, blue collar versus white collar. Who are the top 5 employers in the region? Make sure there's a good population, good growth there. Which that's the great thing about the states we're in. There's tremendous growth in all those states. The school ratings, we're always checking that. Schools are very important to parents, obviously, especially in this day and time. And other rental locations, okay? We look at what apartment complexes do, because in a lot of cases, we crush them, right? We're giving them way more square footage, way more land than an apartment complex. And then the single family homes, we look at that because we always want to be less than the single family home, but we're able to push the envelope because single family homes have gone up so much, and there's just such a shortage of affordable housing right now. So I'm going to talk real quick here about some of these other things that I think are important, things that I think are important since I've been doing this and in my career. Active versus passive real estate investing, how to know which one's for you, right? If real estate is fun for you to be in the hunt, to go look for properties, man, you should be an active real estate person. Go find the deals. People ask me, well, I can do what you do, and yeah, you can, but we spend probably $15,000, $20,000 a month in marketing. We've got acquisition guys all, in the 4 states pounding the pavement. So, but if you want to do that, you can do it too, for sure. But obviously you don't have to. There's operators like our company. There's plenty of operators out there that you can be totally passive, never worry about a tenant, toilet, anything else, and make great returns. So you just got to determine that for yourself. I throw this out here because this was an eye-popping slide for me, right? Like making your money work for you, rate of return, right? So if you're making 1% on your money, if you're sitting on money in the bank and you want to get to the goal of $146,000 annual income, this is a slide that one of the groups I'm in, that group of dentists, that's usually the goal, the benchmark that they want to get to that per year, right? So if you're getting 1% on your money, you need $14.6 million in the bank, which how many of us have that? I know I don't. Okay, 2%, 7.3, 4%, 3.65, 8%, 1.82, 10%, 1.46, right? So, and obviously more than that, you're going faster, right? So it just shows how important getting good returns on your money are if you're trying to get somewhere. Do you need money to invest in real estate? Absolutely not. If you're a young person who sources the deals and finds them, you can find, we've got people all over the place bird dogging for us that we pay them very well to find us the deals that we're making really good money on. And no, we'll joint venture with people. We'll do all kinds of things. You don't need money to invest in real estate if you can source the deals. I think this is critical too. And everybody on this call, I'm preaching to the choir. I think it's great what NuView Trust does. They're an awesome company. They provide these networking opportunities. And I heard this saying for probably 6 years before I said, boy, that's real. Your network is your net worth or will become your net worth. And it's so true. When you have a network, you can source the capital, you can source the deals, you've got and then the great thing about a network is that you can learn to do business with people that you know, like, and trust. And that's why I love mastermind groups. And that's my next slide. I've been in as many in 4 to 5 mastermind groups at the same time. And why do I do that? Right? Sometimes my hand is right in front of my face. I don't see it. I have mastermind groups with there's a couple groups that it's the top real estate investment companies in America. You have to do 50 deals or more a year to be in them. And you learn stuff there that I wouldn't see in a million years. So I encourage every one of you, mastermind groups are great. They're having a network, to me, paying for a mastermind group is not an expense, it's an investment. And that's proven over and over and over again in my life. So I love Robert Kiyosaki's statement. And I tell young people this all the time. Like, what do I do? How do I become you? Or how do I get where you're at? Right. Well, if you want to go somewhere, it's best to find someone who's already been there. Right. Like, I don't have a coaching program, a mentoring program. So I'm not here selling anything. So please don't call me on that. But I tell people, no matter what line of business you want to get in, find someone who's there and go work for them. If you're going to be a doctor or a lawyer, you need to go to college. If you're going to be a real estate investor, you're going to learn way more in a year from an experienced operator than you will in 4 years of college. And I'm living proof of that because I got a college degree. And when I think back on it, I didn't learn much in college. I learned everything in the industry. So this is kind of a funny slide. How do you become successful? Good decisions. How do you make good decisions? Experience. How do you gain experience? Bad decisions, right? That's part of getting a mentor, someone to learn from, so you don't screw up. Because trust me, when I first started, I did not have a mentor, and I got some stories if we had time that I made some tremendous mistakes that I learned from, and fortunately, I don't make them anymore. So, and this is one of my favorite quotes too. Whether you think Henry Ford's quote, whether you think you can or think you can't, you're right. And boy, it's so true, so true. So, I did write a book I co-authored a book with David Phelps, Private Lender Secrets. There's no, if anybody on this call, I appreciate you being on. If you shoot us an email, we will send you a free copy. There's nothing, no strings attached. If you decide to make a donation, I'm on the board of directors for Christian Media International. We feed people, we get the gospel to the world, and any donation goes direct to Christian Media International. So, but once again, the book is free, and if you shoot us an email, we'll be happy to send you a free copy of the book. This is a little bit more about it goes into more detail. I was interviewed on a deal called Titan Talk, goes into more detail. And so if you're interested, I believe it's on YouTube, and you can look that up, and it goes into more detail on our business. And here is my information. Our company website is www.stromberginvestmentgroup.com. Feel free to reach out to me personally, Glenn@stromberginvestmentgroup.com. And once again, I really appreciate everybody's time. And if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them at this time.
Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate it. I wrote a ton of notes. I love your comments there about decisions. Another one that I've heard that I think is related to is experience is what you get after you needed it. So that kind of
That
wraps
is,
that
yep,
up.
that's good.
Yeah, I love that. So we did have a couple questions, so I want to address, some of those. And directly how, when you're looking at your self-directed IRA and you're looking at mobile homes, or not even mobile homes, manufactured housing, where the opportunity is. And I had a great question. Nate, can you talk about RMDs? And this goes outside of just manufactured home. This just talks about the alternative investments that you're allowed to hold in a retirement account. If you're past that age of 72 and you're required to take out your required minimum distributions, how does it affect the assets? So with required minimum distributions, it's important to know that you just have a set amount that you have to take out for all of your traditional IRAs combined. So what most of our clients do who might own manufactured housing or a rental property in their IRA, and let's just say that they don't have liquid cash in that IRA, they just sell off some stocks in their Fidelity account to satisfy their RMD at Fidelity and NuView Trust Company, because you can take your RMD from one custodian to satisfy your IRAs at multiple custodians. So that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is just make sure that you have an asset that is income producing. I think Glenn kind of mentioned it, even with his investors, his investors have multiple options as whether they want to have some interest paid on a monthly basis, or do they want to have 100% of the profit built into the equity. If you're 72, you may want to set up an investment to make sure you're getting some monthly income back so that you can take your or satisfy your required minimum distribution. So again, it's really up to you, the IRA owner, as to what you invest in, but it is a consideration you want to make if you're over 72 and you have to take those required minimum distributions. Here's a fun fact on how you can eliminate required minimum distributions altogether, and it's just fresh in my head because we just recorded a video on it this morning. Convert those traditional IRAs to Roth IRAs and get rid of those required minimum distributions for life. That's the way that I would suggest that.
Hey, can I jump in here real quick?
Of course, yeah.
It's funny because I heard in one of my mastermind groups, get a Roth, get a Roth, get a Roth. You don't hear anything I say, get a Roth, get a Roth. And it was 7 years ago, I finally got a Roth. And I believe the Roth is the greatest investment that anyone could make. I wish I would have done it earlier. And I've been transferring money from my traditional and my Roth, paying the taxes on it, getting it in that tax when the taxes are done. And it's a beautiful thing when you watch that Roth grow and you don't have to pay taxes on it anymore.
Yeah, and based on the rules today, remember, rules might be changing come 2022. We're not absolutely sure yet, but if you are thinking or considering of doing a conversion, I would highly urge you to look at doing that conversion prior to this year ending, because depending on the income level you fall in, you may be out of that opportunity to convert your traditional IRAs to a Roth IRAs. We don't know for sure yet, but if you don't want to roll the dice, do that conversion now before that opportunity is gone. I wanted to touch on something. You can expand on this as well, Glenn. I love that you brought forth the shared appreciation aspect of it and the different ways that you can set up your investment opportunity. If you are investing into manufactured housing, one thing to keep in mind that relates to that is whether or not the manufactured housing is attached to the ground or not. Now, this is based on IRA rules, and I know Glenn's familiar with this, but if you are investing your IRA into personal property, that would be a mobile home not attached to the ground, that's considered personal property, and personal property in the eyes of the IRS is subject to unrelated business income tax. It's not the end of the world. It doesn't make the investment bad, but it is something you want to consider if you're using your IRA to buy personal property. If you're buying a property that's attached to the ground, you don't have to worry about it, but that's something that you want to consider. Why I say that is if you are putting your IRA into a position where it's taxed, maybe you want to look at structuring the investment in a way where you're not taxed. One way you can structure that investment, if you're investing into personal property, is maybe you consider being passive in that investment. A note secured by the investment doesn't incur UBIT or unrelated business income tax for the IRA owner. So it's just something to consider. Again, you can still buy it. It's not a prohibited transaction, But if I'm in that seat and I have a great investment opportunity, and maybe it's with Glenn, I'm just making an example, and he's got a mobile home not attached to the ground, maybe I want to be passive in that investment and just collect interest on that because I know I'm not subject to UBIT. But if I went out and bought and owned that investment, I am subject to UBIT. So just something to consider. I don't know if you run into that with any of your
I do.
IRA investors.
I want to say one thing. Me personally, I don't mind paying UBIT.
Yeah.
If my returns are big enough, I could care less.
Yep.
I see so many people freaking out over UBIT, but if you're making 50% on a deal, okay, you pay the UBIT tax, so be it, But I agree with you, be smart and be prudent and do it where the situation arises. For
Yeah,
sure.
I always remind investors, UBIT is just something to be aware of, not something to be scared of. It's just something that you factor in to the profits. If the profits are enough to where the tax doesn't make sense, but I agree with you 100%. Some people just get freaked out by the word tax, that they think, why would I invest in that if I'm taxed? Well, is the net profit after the tax outperforming what you're doing in the stock market, or outperforming what you're getting on that bank owned, that IRA owned CD, the certificate of depression? I like how Jeff Watson labels that. Again, it's a numbers game. So, and I always have to remind people, UBIT's not prohibited. It's just the tax that you have to factor into that. I have a good story as well, just to kind of touch on some of the things that you mentioned. From a perspective of note investing, because I like to invest in notes. I like to, lend my money out because I don't like to deal with toilets and tenants. And I meet enough savvy investors that are way better at finding properties like Glenn, that I'd love to just say, you go find the property, just pay me a little bit of interest. But that shared appreciation piece is something that I think every investor should add as a tool in their toolbox, especially note investors. Different ways to structure investments can be better depending on what you see in the investment. One of the case studies that I do in a lot of my education is on a manufactured home, where the investor decided that they wanted to set up the note a little bit differently and not just do a simple interest note, but wanted to have an equity kicker in there. And the whole reason was the land the mobile home sat on was in an area, and this is out in Fort Worth, and this is many years ago, but both the borrower and the lender thought this land's going to be worth a lot more in the next 5 years, the way Fort Worth was growing at that time. And as a lender, the lender said, I'd rather be a piece of the equity portion, not just get 8% interest over these years. So they looked at it, they stepped back, they said, let's set this up as a shared appreciation note. And I will tell you, the IRA investor put in 40 grand, got a little bit of interest over the next 5 to 7 years, but got another 40 grand, their 40 grand principal back, and another 40 grand in equity. And the borrower was able to buy the mobile home, no money out of their pocket, and they walked away with another half, the other half of the equity, which was 40 grand. It was a win-win-win scenario based on that. And that's probably, you might've been the borrower. I don't even know.
I'd like to comment on that. First of all, the person that said the land, because I'm in Fort Worth, Texas, and I guarantee you that land has gone up massively in Fort Worth, Texas.
Yes,
so I guarantee you that. But this is a good point, and this is a really good education piece for the people on the call. Okay. And I've done seller financing in the past. Don't get me wrong. I'm not opposed to seller financing. It makes sense in a lot of cases, right? But here's why I don't do seller financing anymore. Okay. I like the rental business, because once you lock in the seller financing, unless you have a clause like that, which not many people do, you're locked in. Your profits are done, right? You're going to get your interest. Now, and here's the other thing too, I'll touch on real quick. If you have to foreclose on a note, it takes a whole lot longer than evicting somebody. I've had foreclosures that took a year, if they get the right bankruptcy attorney. So, to me, it's like, I do some in my portfolio and my IRAs and so forth, but I like the rental and building the wealth better, because you're not limiting yourself, especially in a high inflationary market like we're in today. So.
Yeah, awesome. Couple questions came in. Are these slides available? Are you willing to share the slides?
Sure, absolutely.
If anybody emails you?
Sure, you're
awesome.
Free to send them to them. That's fine.
Awesome.
Yeah,
and Frederick, thanks for joining us, Frederick. He said, can you repeat your contact information?
Absolutely. It's StrombergInvestmentGroup.com. I think you see it behind me, STROMBERG.
Okay.
Awesome. My email is Glenn@StrombergInvestmentGroup.com. And I give out my phone number all the time. people can call me. Okay.
Yeah, Glenn's very easy. He's accessible. Wayne, I see your question. That's probably a question you just want to email directly to Glenn, if you don't mind. He just
That's fine.
popped out his email. And I want to make a quick announcement as well. As we wrap up here, what I want to do is I want to remind everybody about our event coming up. If you're in Florida, kudos, you don't have to take a flight, but I will say we have people flying in from all over the country to come to our annual investor retreat. This is going to be our first annual investor retreat. We're going to start doing some 2-day educational workshop style events. And our very first one is going to be this January 6th, January 7th. Unfortunately, Glenn can't make it. I did invite him, but he will be at our next one, he promises.
For sure.
He's already committed to another event, and that's fine. But I want to make sure that people understand that tickets are going fast. We only have a handful left, well, a little more than a handful, but about half of them are already gone. And the VIP tickets are completely gone. So this is going to be a great event. We're expecting 300 to 400 people. We've got a great list of educators that are going to come in from all over the country. If you want to buy tickets, you can go to NuViewTrust.com/investor retreat. Or if you are watching this on your computer, stick your phone up to that little QR code you see there bottom right. It'll take you directly to it. For those of you who are on this webinar, if you are interested in attending, I have 10 tickets that I'm going to give out for absolutely free if you just send us an email saying, I want my free tickets. I can give up to 2 away for individuals, so let me know if you want one for yourself or you plus one. And let me just give you a little sneak peek of some of the speakers that we have on our day 1 agenda. Dave Steck is the author of Be the Bank. He is a fanatic about self-directed IRAs. He's got over a decade of experience of investing through his whole family invests through their self-directed IRAs, and they buy everything from notes to real estate to cryptocurrency, to using it to be an angel investor and invest in startup companies. So he's going to be speaking day 1. We've got Greg Bond, who most of you know through CFRI. He's a local real estate entrepreneur here in Orlando who has taken his $50,000 IRA and turned it into $3 million through self-directed IRA investing into real estate. He's going to be giving his own personal success story. We have Brad Sumrock, who's a nationally recognized apartment investor and educator. Al Nicoletti's coming in from Jacksonville, who's a real estate attorney. We've got Tom Berry coming in from Houston, Texas. I know Glenn knows Tom very well. And we even have my friend Ed Pugh from Charlotte, who's going to come in and talk about different creative real estate strategies. And that's just day 1, everybody. We also have a real estate expert panel that at the end of the day, and we also have a social networking event in the evening. That's just day 1. We haven't even released day 2 yet. So make sure you got. Yep, go ahead.
I want to say something. 4 of those guys I've been in. You got some heavy hitters there. I got 4 of those guys I've been in mastermind groups with, and they are powerful. They're awesome guys. So you're
awesome. Yeah, they are awesome. And you know, a lot of I will say, Glenn talked a lot about those mastermind groups. It was even giving me some ideas on what we would do on the next one. And Glenn, you probably like this. I'm thinking about adding maybe a 3rd half day and maybe just having it specific for a mastermind if somebody wants to run a mastermind group after the event, because you're right, there's some heavy hitters there. And if I know they all like to get into mastermind groups, so take some of that, high quality and put them in a room together and let them go. So I took that idea, made a note. So if you see that on the next one, it came from you. Right now we've got general admission tickets. Again, I will give free tickets. All you have to do to get a free ticket, let me see if I got the email on the next slide. Yep, right there at the bottom. Email iraspecialists@NuViewTrust.com. Just say, I want my free ticket, or I want my free ticket plus one. One of my IRA specialists will reach out to you and get you registered, but we will give you a coupon code on how to make those tickets free. And if you want to upgrade to a VIP ticket, we've got 5 VIP tickets left. We've already sold 40 of them. The VIP tickets are, you get a little extra, obviously. You get reserved front row seating for the event both days. There's a VIP lounge for all the speakers, but also for the people who buy VIP tickets, you'll have lunch provided both days. You'll have snacks in there. It's basically just a separate room that you guys can have. Throw your own mastermind in there if you want, but it's basically a VIP room, and you get a copy of the entire 2-day event for free. So it's very, very well worth the price. If you want to pay the difference, I think it's only $200 to get that VIP experience. My Irish specialist can give you that coupon code as well. So it's going to be a great event. What a better way to start 2022 than kick it off with 300 to 400 active investors in a room and the lineup of speakers that we have just in day one. Just wait for day two. We're going to talk more lending day two, borrowing day two, and even cryptocurrency day two. So a lot of good stuff coming down the line. Let me see if we have any more questions for you, Glenn. I know you pulled out your email there, so I'm sure you'll get some follow-up emails from some of the people. And we also have this recording. I know a lot of people ask about the recording. If you registered through Zoom, you'll get a copy of it emailed to you within a week. If you can't wait a week, just go to our Facebook page immediately concluding this workshop. It will be on there and live for anybody to watch at any time. So if you want Glenn's information or his slides, you can also just go right there as well. So Glenn, any parting words, any words of advice for people maybe on the fence looking at mobile homes and manufactured housing? I mean, you've got me sold.
You know, and I just, like I say, I'm obviously very biased. I always say that, right? But I really believe there, and I've never seen it this way in my 39 years. There is an affordability crisis in America. And case in point, you know, new manufactured homes right now, if you go to order a new manufactured home, they're a year out right now. That's how far they're out. So yeah, they're in demand. They're tremendous investments, less money, more profit. And I think they're awesome. So I think they're awesome.
Well, Glenn, I can't wait to have you again, whether it's live or virtually. We'll stick in touch, but thank you again for providing the education, and I'm sure some NuView clients will reach out to you.
My pleasure. Thanks, Nate. And like I said, I'm really sorry I'm missing this event in January, but I'm gonna be at the next one for sure. I promise you. So
awesome. Thanks. And thanks everybody for joining us. I'll see you guys next Wednesday for our Wednesday workshop.
Very good. Thanks y'all. Appreciate it.